Hi, guys. Welcome to the How I Raised It podcast, the show where we get an inside, unfiltered look at how real entrepreneurs raise capital for their businesses. I'm your host, Nathan Beckert, and today's episode is with Tato Bigio of UBQ Materials. UBQ is turning residual solid waste, such as chicken bones, pizza boxes, and baby diapers, into a sustainable plastic substitute. I really like this concept. In this episode, we talk about raising capital from strategic investors, family offices, VCs, and private equity funds. They've done it all. We talk about building an advisory board, building an ecosystem around your brand, and much more. If you're tuning into this podcast to learn how to raise capital for your business, be sure to check out foundersuite.com if you're a startup or fundingstack.com if you are a VC or advisor to get an awesome collection of tools for fundraising, including a massive investor database, a CRM to manage your raise, a virtual data room to run due diligence, plus pitch deck hosting, investor updates, and more. Last but not least, if you enjoy this conversation and think someone else would too, please share it with them and hit that subscribe button to get all our latest episodes. Thank you. Now sit back and enjoy this chat with Tato.
Welcome to How I Raised It, the podcast that goes behind the scenes with entrepreneurs who've raised capital. We uncover the tips, tricks, and techniques they use to get investors to write a check. Strap in and turn it up.
Hi, welcome to another episode of How I Raised It, produced by foundersuite.com. Today I have Tato Bigio of UBQ coming to us from Tel Aviv. How was your day or night going?
Yeah, it's a rainy night after, I don't know, like 4 weeks of shining sun and heat. So happy everything is getting cleaned up.
That's nice. That's good. Well, let's go right to it. Fast and furious, as we talked about doing this. Tell me, what is UBQ Materials?
UBQ is a company that developed a remarkable technology that turns household waste, the mixed streams of household waste together into a new thermoplastic material. It's a plastic alternative to oil-based plastics, just that it's made entirely out of household waste. And when I say household waste, I mean all the organics, like your food residues, the garden trimmings, the cardboard and the paper, the mixed plastics, the diapers, dirty, everything in it is part of UBQ.
So interesting. So it takes all this stuff, and what do you guys do to all this waste to turn it into something useful?
The process, this patented process, has been built so that we can break apart the organic part of the waste, which is the dominant segment of our household waste. People probably think that waste is mostly plastics, and the truth is that between 80 to 85% of our waste is cardboard, paper, and food residues. So we commonly tend to believe that, okay, let's solve the issue of the plastics, and we forget that the pie is much, much bigger. So we're taking the 100% of the pie and not the 15% to recycle. That 85%, which is the dominant material, is organic matter. And the chemistry of our process enables us to break apart that organic part into its basic natural components. And then all these components are blended together into a composite matrix. So we're creating a new material out of breaking all the organic matter, and that new material is what UBQ is all about. The plastics that are embedded in the waste, that 15% or 20% we're talking about, they will melt and glue bond into the matrix. So we're a composite matrix which is mostly organic. That is why we're a bio-based material that has reminiscences of different plastics sticked into it like a super glue, but it behaves like one material. It's one material, it's consistent, and it is homogeneous.
Yeah, that's interesting. And is it without getting into too many of the details, is it a chemical process or a heat process or pressure? What's the sort of transformative catalyst, I guess?
Yeah, to create chemistry with materials, you need different physical forces like pressure, like heat, like shearing forces. The question is, what is the amount of forces that you apply? In our case, since we're breaking the organic matter at the particle level and not at the molecular level, we don't we don't need to use high temperatures. We go, depends on which scale you work, but centigrade is up to 200 centigrade. Fahrenheit is up to 380, which is basically a very normal cooking, let's say, oven temperature. We're not creating any, combustion. And by not doing that, we're also avoiding any harmful gases like dioxins and furans and all these horrible things that typically incinerators will create because they work with 800 or 1000 degrees. UBQ doesn't cross the 200 centigrades. And that means that we're extremely efficient in terms of energy because we're between 1/6 to 1/8 of the energy required to process common-based oil plastics like polypropylene, polyethylene, polyestyrene. So we are really, a very comprehensive solution. We're using wasted materials to create a new natural resource that didn't exist before, okay? Saving the problem of landfills and waste, which is enormous because they also create a lot of methane gases. And on the other hand, we're replacing scarce, expensive, and environmentally expensive materials like common-based plastics with this green, sustainable, bio-based circular material.
Yeah, no, it sounds, frankly, it almost sounds too good to be true, but it's
too good to be
certainly, it's certainly encouraging because I'm in Marin County. It's a very environmentally conscious area, and we've got four different bins, the trash, cardboard, organic material, and then other recyclables. But I know people are mixing stuff up and it's contaminating. Like, I just know it's even in probably one of the best situations in the US, I'm sure a huge portion of it is, going to landfill, right?
Your point is super important because we really want the system to continue working the way it is trying to. Just let people separate as much as they can, okay? So the plastic becomes plastic in a recycling system and the cardboard becomes recycled cardboard as well as paper, metals, minerals. It's just that, as you well said, a lot of it becomes contaminated with the other stuff. I'll give you an example. The pizza box, once it has the pizza with the mozzarella and the tomato sauce, that cardboard is unrecyclable. So people put the cardboard, but they also put the salad. So, so at the end of the day, there is an enormous amount of residual waste that cannot be recycled, even if you separate. So we're very happy with the recycling system. We don't compete with it. It's just that anything that cannot be recycled becomes residual waste on its way to landfill, and that is our material. So we don't compete, we complement the system.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's funny you say the pizza box because that is the one that I study it. Like, is there too much oil and sauce on the box, or can I put it in the cardboard? It's a mental drain. So, okay, really interesting stuff. I love interviewing folks like you guys that are tackling really big, huge problems. Is there a market for the material that you guys produce? In other words, the output of your process, is there buyers for that?
Yeah, of course. Look, as you may know, today companies are trying as much as they can to use recycled content in order to abide to their own targets, carbon targets, environmental targets, resource targets. Also trying to abide to regulations. Regulations are imposing now to certain industries and even countries in certain sectors to use more and more recycled content because we want to keep our planet safe with natural resources for the future. That is what sustainability is all about. So recycled content is materials that were in use and are brought back to the economy, and UBQ is precisely that. But as I call it, it's a sustainable material on steroids because we are solving a problem by using waste, which is the harms of landfills. Wasted materials creating enormous gas emissions, underwater leachates, impact to the biodiversity. UBQ is cleaning that stuff and replacing oil-based plastics that are intense, carbon intense. So definitely, it's a value proposition that any customer would love to grab as long as the price is competitive, because everybody talks about environmental changes, but as long as it doesn't cost them. So in the case of UBQ, we come with a competitive price, and therefore it's almost a no-brainer for plastic customers to use UBQ and replace more and more of the plastics they typically use. Today, UBQ is selling its material to Mercedes-Benz. They do plastic parts. Well, it's not plastic, it's UBQ parts now for their electric cars. Pepsi is doing logistic pallets and shelves. McDonald's is doing food trays, and building entire now branches of chairs and tables and tops with UBQ material. And these are a few examples, because there are plenty of plastic companies around the world consuming 400 million tons of plastics that are knocking at the door of UBQ to get our material and replace those oil-based resins that they were using before.
We'll keep this fast and furious. Tato said his sons are serving in the military and they're back he wants to get to dinner. So we're going to keep this moving. But
thank you.
We'll get to the fundraising in one sec, because that's the topic of this. But what's the quick backstory of this? Where did this idea come from? How did you invent it? What's the quick history? Yeah.
The idea came from probably a mistake, right? A lab mistake where a bunch of people were trying maybe to take waste and convert it into some kind of bricks or things for building. And in the process of heating and shearing and doing certain manipulations, some chemical effects started occurring. That team of people really didn't succeed in going anywhere, but the idea behind it was interesting, and a professor from a leading university here in Israel, the Hebrew University, started to understand what is going there, what is happening there, and that is the root of UBQ material. We established a company in July 2012. With a very, very clear understanding of the potential process and chemistry. And it took us years to build a process that is continuous, efficient, safe, and very clean, to convert continuously, household waste into UBQ. It's a very, very difficult process that we succeeded in doing, right?
Yeah.
And it took a lot of effort and a lot of brains, a lot of very, very good people, engineers, professors, chemists, institutes, certification agencies, working all together to grasp this material and to bring it to the market as a certified new material that didn't exist before, where people can feel completely safe and assured that it will be usable. It can be used in the existing machines with the existing processes, which is very important, and that the material is safe to use.
Yeah.
And that took like 6 years to do.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You guys have been around 2012, which is a while in startup time. Okay, let's get into the fundraising then and tackle that, because I know you guys just raised a big $70 million round, but let's go back sort of to the beginning when you guys were in getting off the ground, and you had a long, journey to prove this is everything you just said. Commercially viable, safe. How did you finance this in the early days?
So in the early days, I was personally really involved in the setting up of the company, in managing it. I was the CEO, and I was looking for strategic capital. It was clear to me that there was money around, but I wanted intelligent money, and I got a hold of a very prominent a businessman who owns, together with his family, a very large conglomerate of plastic factories. So he comes from the plastic sector, which is exactly what I needed to understand. And he understood the potential of the technology. He did a very thorough examination of the technology, and with him we could really start, cashing in substantial amounts of funding to develop the technology. Of course, the seed money came from angels and our own team, but the real money started coming from this strategic investor. Along the way, I was approaching capital markets or funds, etc. But typically, every time there was a capital funding round, the current investor said, I want to take it. And that was very convenient because, our cap table became very easy. So in this case, we have him, and we also had some funding from a prominent venture capital company fund, which is called Battery Ventures. And these guys proved to be extremely good in their corporate, legal, and business advice. Their network and their heart to this is unbelievable. So a very small group of very intelligent business, with a strong business acumen, team of people with the financial resources to carry on many years of development until we needed really bigger funds.
Gotcha. Who was the strategic investor in those early days? Is that a publicly disclosed thing or a secret?
Yeah, okay. you can see it in our cap table. It's the Duer family. Albert was the CEO of that company, of the big plastic conglomerate, together with his sisters and brothers, and of course his father, who is still alive fully for many years. And eventually Albert stepped out from his CEO role of that company and joined me as co-CEO to leverage the experience, his experience in the industrial base, to accelerate our expansion efforts. So we're working together as co-CEOs, and we get along extremely well. We're working for many years already together, and enjoying every day because it's really an incredible mission to create such a green, sustainable alternative.
Yeah.
For a better world. So we're carried by the vision and the mission of the company as well. Yeah.
Interesting. So the Dower, they run a plastics business in Israel, or are they based somewhere else?
No, they have factories in Latin America, in the United States, in Europe, in Turkey, and in other places. It's a very big conglomerate. And they understand the challenges of plastic. They understand the language of the plastics, also the problems that they're facing. So in a way, UBQ is a balance to what they knew, and they're still doing great in their own business, and of course also with UBQ. So yeah. But we're two different entities completely. It's just that, just like any strategic partner, they come with a lot of experience and network and understanding and ideas, and that helps a lot.
And did you cold reach out to them? Like, I did.
Mm-hmm. I did. I really was very, very active in trying to find a strategic partner. It was very clear to me from the early days that is what I needed. And I have to tell you that I have a few alternatives, which is something that not too many have the benefit of having in front of them. I did have alternatives
Yeah.
But it was very clear that these were the guys. I mean, it's a family. They have vision. They are long-term investors. They are not coming for the easy buck. They know that the industry takes time and the challenges of building a new enterprise. So a very rewarding process, really, with a lot of course, a lot of effort, a lot of work, but very rewarding.
Well, I was thinking about that. I mean, like in those early days, going back to those early days when you've got this process, you're pretty sure it works. I'm sure you didn't know 100% at the time, but you have a hunch that it's working. And then I can almost see the decision tree of where do I raise capital from, right? There's a lot of green focused funds, eco focused funds. So that could be one path. There is, of course, oil companies, plastic companies, which, is another totally different set of options. I guess, was it just because you wanted a long-term partner and they kind of understood the industry and probably needs to make this transition? So that's why it was such a fit for what you're doing, or what?
First of all, the amount of funds that you have today were not then didn't exist, and there were some, but the wave of environmental change and the awareness was definitely not there. Look, the Paris Accord is only 2015. Until people started digesting that accord, it was 2019. We were very, very early in the game. And again, if you ask me if I would change my decision, not in any way or shape, even though there are funds, I know the way funds work. I know the time horizon. I know the limitations. I know the charters. You need freedom to operate. You need to be able to explore and not to be tied with a quarter thing or an agenda or an end of year target, because when you create, you really need the time and the space to do the right thing, and not to find the way to get to a target that is impossible to reach in the framework of creating. That is something that I would always recommend, that if you're going to be building something new, try and find the common base with the partner investor that has the breadth and the scope and the horizon that you are looking for, so that you don't have a difference of opinion that will lead eventually in the breaking apart of your company. It's like, there are so many sad stories because there is no right alignment between partners. So getting to partners that are aligned is not easy, but it really assures a much easier future.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. Okay, let's, I guess, move on. I'll try and make this fast to the most recent round. So this was a couple months ago, but $70 million round led by Eden Global Partners. Talk about putting that together. Why did you decide to go after some private equity funds, and how did you identify the right investors? And, just talk about the whole process of raising.
So 2 years ago, we went to market. We wanted to have a strong private equity fund behind us with a lot of access network and prestige in the environmental space. We raised $170 million, led by TPG, the Rise Fund and the Climate Impact Fund. And $120 million came from TPG, and another 50 from very prominent institutional funds in the US and in the UK. Then we decided to accelerate our expansion plan, and since our focus is very much oriented at this stage in developing our presence in the United States, again, we were looking for a partner that can be a counterpart in that location, and with the right contacts, with the right experience, again, with the right view of things, industrialist. And that is what Eden is all about. It's a fund based on a very strong industrial base, in the East Coast of the United States. They understand the industry, they understand process, they understand the engineering, and everything that has to do with permitting processes and materials and validation and marketing. So a perfect fit, a wonderful team of people, really on top of the world, I have to say. We're building a very strong, partner-based company, and our board of directors is really top of the world. So if we want to really be an international conglomerate of the first class, everything has to be first class, starting from the team and the partners. And that is what we're getting. And it's not easy, but that's the way you should do it.
Did you talk to a lot of investors to land on those few?
Yes.
Yes.
And they talked to us as well. They came to us after TPG. You can imagine. I mean, any fund, equity fund, VC fund, local fund, regional fund was talking to us, and and the choice of Eden was, in my case, to tell you the truth, a very obvious. Even though I have to say that there are extremely good teams around that I don't know if we will end up working with them. Maybe yes, in expanding our capital base. But in this case, considering the fact that we want to have a very strong foothold in the United States, Eden was an extraordinary match. And also the culture, the business culture of these people is very similar to ours. And that is what that really turned the decision to go with them.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I will, one or two more questions, I'll let you go. I guess kind of on this topic of raising more money, will you build a facility in every geographical region that sort of sits alongside? In other words, is that the long-term vision, or are you more like licensing the technology to, waste firms?
Yeah, look, at this stage where we are introducing a new process technology, a new material, we want to be in control of the whole value chain. Okay. We also want to make sure that the technology is well established, well developed, well managed. We don't want to get into a situation where a licensee that is not doing exactly what we need him to do. We cannot afford to make too many mistakes, considering the fact that we're not yet an international big conglomerate with the muscle to impose, all these very strong rules for our licensees to work. We want to have it in an easier way. So in these years, we definitely will be developing our plants. And managing them and managing the whole marketing structure, because this material moves. Remember, you can have a plant in Brazil, you can have a plant in Dubai, and they can have the same customer in Korea. So this is not Starbucks that you have a territory and the coffee will not go from Arkansas to Minnesota. But in this case, it moves. It's like polypropylene. So we need to establish the baseline, and we need to also to create the package to license the technology. Once we will be secure that that we have control and that our licensees can be monitored in the right way, of course we will evaluate that opportunity, because that will enable us to expand faster. But still, we're not there yet.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Last question. I like to ask this of everyone. If you could give your younger self, 2012, whatever younger self you want to pick, advice, or if you would do anything differently, or if there's any other general advice you'd like to give entrepreneurs, maybe operating in the, eco or waste space, what would it be?
I tell you, I think that we did quite well, and there's always room to improve here and there. But in general, the concept was correct. We always thought about having the right partner in everything we do. And when I say the right partner, I'm not only talking about the financial investor partner on your cap table. I'm also talking about the legal firm that will serve your interest, the patent office, the certification agency, the accounting firm, because at the end of the day, you are going to be building an ecosystem around your idea, around your vision. And if you engage those very important companies in the early stages of your business to understand that to be part of the work you're doing, then you can multiply the access that you have to their network or through their network to the different stakeholders that may be relevant at a certain point of time in the life of your business. So you need to keep a very close contact with your team, internal team, your team, okay? Your investors and your service providers. And if you have a board of directors trying to maximize the capabilities. And if you can build an advisory board where you give very intelligent people a role in supporting the vision and the mission of the company, then you will also get access to people and ideas, but you will also get network. So you need to build around your company, a number of stakeholders that you will end up in any way you will be paid. The legal firm, you will pay. The patent office, you will pay them. You have the accounting. But if you engage them in what you are doing and use their leverage and their muscle and then their international presence, you're multiplying yourself. Of course, you need to do the right thing, because if you do the right thing, these guys are all about helping you. Everybody wants to be part of a success story, especially if it's a sustainable green story. So my recommendation to any young guy who is listening to me, and if he's not young and experienced, just to tell him that engaging your stakeholders is monumentally important in the success of your business.
I like it. Good. Well, it looks like you have some visitors and you've got to go to dinner. I will let you off the hook here. This is super exciting. I mean, I think what you're doing is great. Kudos to you. Congratulations on the success.
Thank you.
And keep up the good
Nathan.
Enjoy your dinner.
A pleasure. I'm here for anything else you may want at any other point of time.
Hey, actually, last question. If people want to learn more, it's simply ubqmaterials.com. And is there anything you want to plug or promote or, anything at all?
Go to the website, go to our LinkedIn and our social media. We are very active. And I think that you will find a lot of material around what we're doing. This is my son.
we got the future CEO is now.
Bye. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.